What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team. Mr. Ray, what's up, dude?
Life is good, Wes. It's 26 degrees and sunny, so a lot to be grateful for.
Oh, yeah, 26 degrees Celsius.
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit.
For your benefit.
Yeah,
That's like -3 Celsius.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, because like converting to Celsius is annoyingly not as easy as it should be, right? Because I think there's like a numerator and denominator, I think. Like it's not just like add 20 degrees or something like that. It's like divide by something.
No, I know you're trying to hurt me right now, but no, it's just double it and add 20 or something. I don't know.
Converting to Celsius. Let's see here. Here you go. 32 degrees. It's like formula is, multiplied by 5 divided by 9.
I'm not gonna do that.
Crazy? It's stupid. It's just ridiculous. I don't know. So math. Anyway, what's up, brother? How was the weekend?
The weekend is good. A lot of playoff football going on, a lot of upsets, a lot of cliffhangers, a lot of rallying from behind, a lot of underdog stories. So that's good. A lot of great watching, a lot of chicken wings being consumed, a lot of blue cheese dip. So my diet goals, my fitness goals, my weight loss goals are they haven't cratered, but they are kind of like, I went back into maintenance mode this weekend.
Yeah. Can we chat about that?
Sure.
So I think what happens oftentimes is, first of all, if I were to chart everybody, including my own, everybody's diet, there's a 97% chance that it's a good line-ish throughout the week, and then it's a mountain chart over the weekend, right? At least for one day. So this is like, if there's one thing I could teach us men, including myself, it's like the math is the math. So it's okay to have chicken wings on the weekend. If your goal is, let's say your goal is to lose weight, like to make an extreme example of it, if you ate nothing all week and then you ate nothing but Snickers bars on Saturday, that doesn't mean that you would gain weight, quite literally. So as long as the net numbers are sufficient over whatever duration in that particular domain, in this case, it's weight loss, then you're going to lose weight. Like there's no other way around it. I know people like to debate this, and it's more marketers' fault, because marketers are always trying to find the one thing that's different and then hyperbolize from there. So it's a function of calories. Yes, there are some tweaks that, like if you read the book How Not to Die, and he wrote this other book called How Not to Diet. Yes, there is some benefit to, at least from his studies, from eating calories in the morning versus eating calories at night. But again, it's like, you can't just take that sentence and say, oh, well, then I'm going to eat all of if I don't eat all of my calories in the morning and intermittent fast between, like all that stuff. It's like, no, it's like, we're probably talking about 30 extra calories or 40, 50 extra like net calories. That's not going to make somebody fat. It's the same thing of people telling me oftentimes, oh, I don't eat fruit, right? Because fruit has sugar in it. It's like, dude, like, zero people who've gotten fat from consuming fruit. Zero, literally zero. So I think oftentimes, like, paying attention to the math, and one of the mental models that you and I, Ray, have talked about is like, do your own math. And if you're not going to do your own math, then rely on somebody who is doing their own math. But if that person is a marketer, you might want to double check it.
One know thyself is, a rule that should govern our behavior. One of our mantras here is the good plan you follow is better than the great plan you don't. And so abstaining from sugar, abstaining from, sugary treats, sugary drinks, abstaining from junk food, abstaining from wheat. And I'm not reading the side of the ingredients on the side of the bottle, to see if there's any wheat in something, but I'm abstaining from pasta and bread, And so that's my good plan. It's not the great plan. I'm not counting calories, but that is what the rest of it, I can kind of go on good behavior and intuition and, common sense, but it's the hard and fast rules are like no junk food, no sugar, no wheat. And when I can follow those 3 simple rules, that gets me to where I want to be on the scale.
Yeah.
The goal is still 170, or that's the weight I'm happy with. Mm-hmm. I'm at 172 today. However, you challenged Brent and I to go to the cold plunge.
Yeah, let's have it, man.
Yesterday, Friday morning, we did it Friday afternoon. And it's a place. Experience? Oh, dude, it was fantastic. It's a place called Othership in Toronto, which is like a kind of a wellness spa where they have 2 things. They have a row of 5 plunge tubs, and then they have a giant sauna. The sauna is kind of like, picture like a millionaire's like movie theater that he has in his basement or something, where there's just like maybe 3 or 4 rows of seats. It's like that kind of size. It can accommodate about 20 or 30 people though. And so this is not this is a social club. That's how they describe it. It's a social club where you don't have to like be totally quiet the whole time. Like you can chat with the other people. And even though I'm very proud of my fitness progress and my weight loss progress these past 2 years, I was easily the most disgusting person in the room. Like everybody was younger. Everybody was like lower BMI. Everybody was better groomed, in terms of body hair. So Brent and I left that place recommitting to our goals and doubling down on our goals. So I got to keep that in mind. It was fantastic. Brent's condition was we're only going if we can hold hands the whole time, right? That's what he was saying on Friday.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, when we arrived, 4 of the 5 tubs were occupied and only 1 cold plunge tub was available. So we did, in fact, jump in together, kind of like toes touching toes. And it was great. In there for 2 minutes, and then you leave up to the neck. And then I said, is there any problem with putting the head in? And she said, no, it's just a little more intense. So I just went to the tub and dunked my head in for another 15 seconds. And then you adjust. And once you start really shaking, you go into the sauna. And we were in the sauna for about 20 minutes. Typical sauna rules, like sit at the highest point, and then, if you can't bear it anymore, come down lower and then come down lower. My God, it's like the Roman emperor kind of stuff. And then, and so you can stay in the facility, you pay your $50, and then you can stay in the facility for an hour and 15 minutes, 75 minutes. So I still had another 20 to go. So I went back and did a second dunk in the cold plunge. Yeah. And then a second dunk of my head, 2 minutes, and then the 15 seconds with the head, and then another sauna. And it was, fantastic. So exhilarating, relaxing, on the drive home. All the little dramas that were consuming me before seemed just so small, right? Yep. Like it forces you into a don't sweat the small stuff kind of mentality. Slept like a baby, like a sense of happiness, for lack of a better word. I know happiness is for women and children, but it's just the kind of thing you want to feel when you come out of a meditation or a therapy session or a workout, Right. It is just fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah. There's just a certain boundary that's pushed when like every cell in your body is just screaming. Mm-hmm. and it's not sure if it's going to die, and it's not sure what its like owner is doing,
Yeah, that mind over matter, that mastery over one's urges, all that.
Yeah, and there's an element there that's like okay, I like every inch of you. For those of you who haven't done a cold plunge, and Jordan knows a lot about this. He does it quite frequently. Every single centimeter of you is screaming to stop. It's just like stop, 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 stop. And 2 minutes might not sound like a lot, but 2 minutes is a long time when your entire being is thinking it's going to die. Right?
Yeah, man.
It's painful. It is not, and it's not one of those things like oh yeah, it's painful and but it kind of feels good. It does not feel good at all.
Yeah, it bends. Yeah, it bends the space-time continuum. So like the first 30 seconds feels like about an hour. The second 30 seconds feels like half an hour. And then as you get into minute 2, like you think to yourself, you know what? I'm getting a handle on this. I could probably do this all day. And then when they say 2 minutes, you're like, okay, I'm out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So what I have found, the longest I've ever done, and do you know the temperature of the water by any chance that you did?
No, but it's, it's whatever it's not an accident. Like whatever the typical sports medicine cold plunge is for all these places,
It's probably easily low 40s, maybe even dipping into like mid 30s, something like that. And this
it's
is
like
not
slushy. It's like I'm pretty sure it's like slushy.
Then you're definitely down into like the mid to low 30s. Mm-hmm. So my experience has been across the board that it's exactly like you said. First 30 seconds, just excruciating. You're thinking it's like, oh, this has to be easily 35 minutes. I've been in here, and then eventually it kind of dips down, and you almost get numb to it. But if you did you keep your feet and your hands in?
Oh yeah, right to the neck.
Okay. So that's super hard because that's the hardest part, the hands and the feet, and then
and then when I would open my fingers, I'd feel like I'd feel like kind of cold pain all over again that I thought when I thought I was maxed out, or to move the legs. Right, there's some exposed blood or something that gets frozen up.
Yeah, apparently there's like a heat sheath that is formed around your body if you stay completely still. This is why if you go into the ocean when it's super cold, it feels way colder than the temperature would read, because it's just constantly moving that heat sheath away from you. But from my experience, basically it's like Ray's saying, and then once you reach like the 5-minute mark, I found that it's basically easy coasting from there up until around like the 15-minute mark, somewhere in there. And then it's like, and I've done it as long as 20 minutes, and apparently that's like not a good thing. And I'm sure if like you're conditioned like a Wim Hof or something, then that's probably, but after a certain period of time, it's just like your core body temperature is dropping too much, and you have no more heat left in you. So I'm just telling that to you guys, don't do that, because at the time I had my girlfriend research it when I was in there, because I started experiencing symptoms that were like, it's like, all right, this is probably not healthy, sort of a thing. And then, what we found out is like, no, you should not be doing it for a long period of time. But I believe it's very asymmetrical. Like the first 2 minutes are the most benefit, and then from there it's marginal benefit, But anyway, guys, proceed with caution, but it's unbelievable. And Ray, congrats to you for taking the challenge, because that was like a real-time challenge that I sent over to you that day, and you got it done within like 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, dude. It was fantastic. And I'm starting to, your addiction to like competitizing everything is kind of like rubbing off on me, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now what about for the gentlemen here who don't want to spend $50 on an hour session, or that don't have a facility nearby with the cold plunge sauna hardware?
Yeah. I think.
But let's say they have a bathtub in their house, right?
Yeah, I think now in the winter, even a cold shower, it's not going to. I don't think it's anywhere near as excruciating as a cold plunge at the level that you did, Ray. But I do think there are benefits, and if not for anything else, the number one benefit being, are you going to do it knowing that it's hard? Mm-hmm. And especially like in the morning, right? You get out of bed, So I know even now in California now, the water supply is cold enough in the morning because during the summer it's not like it's lukewarm when it starts to come out. But that's probably the first, gateway drug into it. The next level up would be a full bathtub filled of the coldest water that you can manage from the spout. And then if you want to go beyond that, then you can go to your local grocery store and buy ice. For reference, in a standard bathtub, the ice that I would put in there was 100 pounds. So you can go anywhere. So that in a standard bathtub, you kind of max out there with like space, volume. So that's the way I would say you can kind of escalate at little to no cost relative to what your baseline costs are already. Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
Right. And so up here in Canada, the weather, on account of the weather, the water comes out of the tap pretty darn cold, right?
Yeah.
And so what I do is I set the temperature to, my preferred warm, but then I turn it on and I don't wait outside until the temperature kind of creeps up. I just jump right in and turn it on and let that cold water hit me for about 10 seconds. And I just have to say out loud the healthful benefits of like cold exposure. Mm-hmm. So like as it's hitting me, I'm like, this reduces inflammation. Yeah. This tells my body that, when it's time to get up and go, it's time to get up and go. Mm-hmm. And
well, I think there's two ways that I've approached it, and I believe even Wim Hof kind of commented on this, and I think both are effective. I try to flip on and off each time. So one way I'll approach it is with the adrenaline approach, like pump myself up, like slap my knee one time, get the fuck in there, and then like the adrenaline, sort of like numbs everything, and then it becomes almost like psychotically enjoyable. The other way, which is harder for me, is I'm not going to get emotional at all about this. I'm going to get in and just go blank. That is way harder for me. What is your approach, Ray? Is it the zenned out approach, or is it like I'm going to white knuckle my way through this thing?
It's white knuckle. I don't like, yeah. It's not zenned out. It's God damn it. I usually say God damn it out loud. And I don't pump myself up in the sense that I say, let's go, this is going to be awesome. I pump myself up by saying, God damn it, this sucks. Why do I do this? And in fact, I think part of my ritual is getting under the shower, getting ready to turn on, say, God damn it, why do I do this every morning? And then turn it and hit it and, freeze. And I'm like, reduces inflammation.
Yeah.
Now, mind over matter. Do you give
yourself a limited runway of time to get in, or is that time negotiable for you?
No, it's always, if the time, like the longer the runway, the less likely I'm going to do it.
Right.
I guess I've never jumped out of a plane with a parachute on my back, but I suppose without the pressure of all the other people waiting to jump, I could just debate it with myself all day. Right.
Yeah. Like nothing changes. There's no benefit except for there's only downside if you extend the runway. And I think I went to this seminar one time and it talked about, cold showers, and they kind of used it as a benchmark of how you show up to life. So it's like you show up to the cold shower. There's so much you can learn about yourself and how you show up to life the way you show up to a cold shower, right? Do you negotiate with the timeline, right? Do you tweak a little bit because nobody's looking? You turn the dial a little bit more on the warm side, and then you tell everybody that you did a cold shower, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, and then like, did you do it for the full duration at which you said you would do it? Like all these really cool things. Did you do it at night instead of the morning? So I think we can look at anything hard, but I think, yes, the cold plunge and a cold shower can be looked at symbolically as a quick little snapshot. And like, how strong is your word with yourself?
Yeah. And for me, the cold shower in the morning, it's like, what are you negotiating? Like the case has been made. right? Like
Right.
case closed, that it benefits you, that a real man can do it, that you said you'd do it, and that you survived every other time you've done it before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we've had, this is very interesting. So on the scorecard meeting this morning, by the way, if we can, let's update each other on our scorecard. And guys, we want to start doing this repetitively. The scorecard for me, and I don't mean to sound like I'm marketing this thing. So like it, for me, gets me back to baseline of earning results. And same thing that Ray's saying, there's no negotiation that I have to do. I don't have to plan anything. It's already planned. These things have already been synthesized and thought out. I'm sure we could add or, probably add a couple more, but I want to get all of us, including myself, very present to our results. And specifically to our earned results, because one of the things we went over in the scorecard practice session this morning was supernatural stimuli. So big shout out, Matt McCusker, part founder of the Rhomas men's team, was on Joe Rogan yesterday.
Dude, bucket list.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Bucket list.
Yeah. He's actually coming out to visit in a couple weeks, and maybe we'll even get a session with him on here to talk about that experience. But the point is, he brought up on Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday supernatural stimuli, and we went over that this morning thanks to Tim in our practice session this morning on the scorecard team. I want to add a little thing to that conversation of like supernatural stimuli. So think about like McDonald's French fries, how awesome they taste, but they're not like, there's nothing in nature that exists with that level 1,000 degree, taste bud satisfaction. But then once you start eating McDonald's French fries, it's hard to go to broccoli after that, right? So I do think, though, there's something to add to the conversation. I wonder if there's an element of unearned rewards there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
Yeah. So there's a piece there. And for me, it's like, hey, go and get your dopamine. If you're earning it, like not if you're passively absorbing it off of the back of others. If you're, and I hate to be so crude about this, but like there's a difference between going and watching pornography and then actually earning the physical love of your spouse. Do you know, or whatever that is. There's a massive difference there. And if you're cutting that feedback loop just because you can run McDonald's real quick and pay $1.09 for 5,000 French fries or whatever it is, right? There's a lack of earning there. So how can we start to integrate the journey and the earningness of that dopamine, if that makes sense? And the scorecard for that, one of the ways that I get that is the scorecard.
Yeah, a few things come to mind, like the biblical language. I think it's biblical. Give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime, right? Give a man a fish is the unearned results. Teach a man to fish is the earned results, right? You've talked about, well, who would you bet on? The person who wins the lottery or the savvy entrepreneur who had all that money and lost it? Right. You'd bet on the entrepreneur because he has the skills to win it back. The lottery player does not.
Yep.
Right. So there's your unearned versus earned results again.
Yep.
And I agree. Like if I'm committed to being on the path of progress, the scorecard is the easiest way to make myself accountable to that goal. To start every day with these 10 habits or behaviors.
Yep.
I guess the question is, how are you so sure that just drinking water, just getting 8 hours sleep, just meditating, just journaling in over a 1 hour period in the morning, how are you sure that can translate into tangible benefits in your business career, in your wider, broader life?
Yeah. So I think I went to see Jordan Peterson recently live, and it was awesome. And it was oftentimes we try to get the guaranteed answer versus that might not be the way to think about it. The way to think about it is think about your alternatives. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like if the alternative is for me to sit in my room and play video games, right? Versus do the scorecard, right? Like I'm going to do that. And it's funny because even though that sounds like an extreme example, we all know as men, it's not, and the example that Jordan Peterson was asked live on stage was like, okay, should kids have to go to college? And it's like, well, wait a second, right? Like, let's make it more specific. If the alternative is to do basically nothing, then of course you should go to college. But if the alternative is, okay, you're working on the next Facebook and actually working on it 15 hours a day and like, you're showing real progress, then maybe, right? Like then the answer is maybe. But for me and for us, this scorecard was not developed haphazardly. This is literally like 10 to 15 years of me and a couple other guys saying, hey, like what has provided the real results in your life? And dude, every single time, like when I talk to somebody who's worth a lot of money, I've only talked to one billionaire in my life, but this was even true for him. It all came back to fundamentals. Every single one of them across the board. They brought the conversations very quickly back to like philosophy and fundamentals. Like I wake up every day at this time. I go to bed every day at this time or roughly around this time. I do my exercises, right? Like all these things. And then eventually we just synthesize and say, okay, well, if these guys are doing it, like maybe I should do it. And maybe I should shut my mouth originally before I start to judge it and add 55 things to it. Maybe I'll just try this. And then, dude, when I would do it, it's like, okay, awesome. And here's the other thing. I found it to be more of a hedge on unhappiness because there were times when I would just like, in air quotes, grind so hard at the expense of holistic goals around me and then be kind of miserable or like snippy with people and not have any data to fall back on of like, why, like I'm killing it in business. Why am I so upset? And then eventually when I start doing my scorecard, it's like, oh, dude, dummy, you're upset because you've put zero effort into your family, zero effort into your sleep, zero effort into your nutrition besides like chicken and rice because you want to get jacked, right? Like there's so many things that you're missing. And then when I start doing the scorecard, it's like, oh, okay, this is easy. Now when I'm grumpy, I immediately know why. I look back at my scorecard, it's like, oh, because 4 out of the last 6 days, I got 3 hours of sleep. I'm making that number up, but like you get the point. So anyway, so for me, Ray, I'll share my screen right here just to show you guys. Let's see. So this, because I want to be held accountable. Can you guys see that? Can you see that, Ray? Okay, so this is my scorecard last week, and this is thanks to you guys keeping me accountable. So overall grade A+ at the bottom right-hand corner here, and then for those of you who use the scorecard, or maybe for those of you who have not seen the scorecard before, we have these 11 metrics. We score ourselves from Monday through Saturday, taking Sunday off. Now, you can choose one day to take off, that'd be Saturday, Sunday. It doesn't matter, whatever day you want to take off, and then you can just adjust the score as necessary. But we also build it to be heat mapped style. So it's red or green and it's binary. Did you get 8 hours sleep last night? Yes or no? 0 or 1. Did you weigh yourself? Did you focus on your goals? Did you take your water? Silence, active love, learning, journaling, focus on your body, nutrition, and your craft, etc. So anyway, my overall grade last week was 59 points and with a grade of A+. So that's just to keep accountable. Ray, how about you, bud?
Amazing. So what I do is I keep, I find I'm much more effective when I write things down as opposed to keep them digitally. So I carry with me a large calendar where, each 2-page open is a week. And same with my notes, not digital. So at the, so I've got the date and the scorecard and I check them all off.
Hell yeah.
As I go. And so if I'm reviewing the last week, I did not weigh myself twice. And I did not. Now for the health and veggies, I have the veggie smoothie, the green drink.
Yep.
With protein powder, amla powder, turmeric, ginger, all that stuff, and veggies. So 3 times this week, I did not eat that. That's not to say I didn't eat healthy at all those days. It's just my personal metric is, am I getting that, extra boost of healthy food?
Totally. Got it.
So, and again, scorecard score would be in the toilet if we weren't meeting every day to get these things done. I liked what you said about guaranteed results. right? Because like, can you execute on your goals in your broader life because of the scorecard? That's unknowable. Is it harder because of the scorecard? Absolutely not. I guess the first thing I learned is discipline, right? And how many of those successful guys you were talking about would list discipline as one of the pillars of their success?
Yeah, core tenets for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the one thing you do learn is discipline by doing this, and which is a major challenge for a lot of people in our culture, in our generation. You said Jordan Peterson said, go to college versus play video games all day for 4 years. That's not an extreme hypothetical.
No, it's not.
That is like, that is the reality, right? And that's what we're fighting against, is this world of super normal stimuli, or maybe Matt had a different name for it. But we have this caveman brain still, right? Which sparks every time we see food, right? So let's say every time we see 50 calories in the wild, our brain sparks to eat that. So when we get, 3,000, 5,000 calories in one happy meal, the brain, it's it's Niagara Falls of pleasure.
Oh yeah.
Right. And and then you can get that from porn too, and from video games. You don't have to slay dragons. You can just sit in a chair and slay dragons all day. Like it's not hard to live a super normal stimulus life. In fact, it's hard not to.
Yes.
Right? Because you're swimming upstream. When you say, I want to work out, I want to eat only healthy, I want to, meet a woman in real life and be faithful to her. The culture or the incentives are the inverse.
Yeah.
Right. Just see what the algorithm. Just think about what the algorithm recommends for you on social media. In fact, I would encourage all the gentlemen to go to Instagram and go to the search function. And so when you're searching, you press the looking glass to search, and you start typing in someone's name. It has a whole menu, or like a kind of like a mosaic of different videos that they think you'll like. And I'd be surprised if any of them are kind of aligned with your values. It's all mental junk food. It's all big booty, booty model, fake wellness junkies.
Oh man. Well, I think there's a couple components to this. Not only is it supernatural stimuli, there's also an element that your peers are mostly doing those things as well. So not only is there this like extremely exaggerated reward to earning the reward ratio, if you don't do those things, your peer group often doesn't shun you, but they're like you didn't watch every single football game yesterday on Sunday, bro. Like, what are you doing? What'd you do with your time? I remember when I first started working in construction years and years ago, this guy, we just met each other, and he's like, hey man, like, why don't we go grab a drink after work? I said, I'm totally cool. I don't drink, but I'll grab an iced tea. He's like, all right, cool. He's like, I can bring some drugs. And I was like, yeah, I don't do any of that either. He's like, so you do pills or anything? I was I'm not, and he's like, what do you do? Like,
are you a cutter? Do you cut?
He's like, what do you do then? So there's this, not only this like asymmetrical, like I said, rewards to earnings, to earn the rewards dynamic, but then you add in the other part, which is most likely your peer group is putting pressure on you to engage in the supernatural stimuli. And that's oftentimes what they talk about. Oh, are you playing this video game? Oh, are you watching this football game? You watching this TV show? You eating this food? Dude, why aren't you going to go to wherever with us to grab a drink? Right? It's very hard. So the cards are definitely stacked against us for sure.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be so hard on your peer group Like
No.
there's some, I'm thinking there must be some broader cultural like forces at play where like vices seem to unite us faster. Like I remember when I used to smoke, going out for a smoke break at work, smoking at a bar. It was this great social lubricant, right? Where you could, it was a lot easier to initiate a conversation if you were both smokers outside in front of the office building or both smoking at a bar.
Yep.
Jordan, did you experience anything like social reset you had to do when you got on the path of progress?
Oh, a ton of it. I've been telling a few people about it who I'm kind of helping with some sobriety and stuff. And it's funny because like the path of progress, I'm always like it's met with a ton of friction from your peers. Like I quit smoking too in 2013. I smoked for like 13 years, and it like all my friends were like, "Well, why are you quitting?" I'm like, I don't want to do it. Like I don't know, why do I need a reason to not do something that's unhealthy for me? Likewise, like the drinking thing, our society is so built around drinking. Like I went to a Wild game, the hockey game on Saturday night. It's so much easier to get a beer. You can't find a place to get any other drinks like waters and stuff. Like they're throwing beer in your face, but to get water or anything else is like it's a chore to go find. Like you have to go specific counters to get something that's not alcohol. So yeah, there's a lot of friction with trying to do things that's against the grain of society for sure.
Dude, it's fascinating. I mean, vaping, it seems like becoming even more popular. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's my perception. It's just so interesting how humans are. It's like, air's pretty sweet, but what would make it better, right? If it tasted like passion fruit, like something like that, Like if we made it
not even that. It's like air tastes pretty sweet. Do you want to make it even better? Poison.
Yeah, but it's so fascinating. Dude, some of those vape pens, and no disrespect to anybody who's currently on that, obviously
like that loser Troy who's currently vaping.
Dude, I mean, sometimes I'll pull up to cars and it looks like their car exploded inside. Like with the amount of smoke that it's unbelievable. Like I can't even fathom it. It's like that's going into your fucking lungs, right? But yeah, anyway, supernatural stimuli. So to make this in real time, Jordan, what is the current supernatural stimuli that you are fighting against? And Ray, I'll pass it over to you after.
Well, right now I'm fighting against getting smoking weed. So what's today? 16. I'm 16 days in. By the way, thank you, Lucas. He's helping keep me accountable too. So yeah, weed is just, and like I don't really have anything against weed, but I saw myself just really relying on it way too much. And like I don't care if anyone smokes or what anyone does, but I was seeing a lot of unhealthy habits forming around my weed smoking. I was staying up later, so I wasn't getting anywhere near the amount of sleep I wanted. I don't keep snacks in my house anymore, but like one night I was smoking, I ate like 4 or 5 apples. I was like, well, I'm like, okay, fine, it's apples, but like, yeah, I know it was silly, but I was like, well, I mean, I guess it's not a pint of ice cream, but like, it's still not good. Like, I wouldn't have eaten 5 apples if I wouldn't have been high. Is the point? So that's my biggest one right now. And I mean, as a lot of dudes, I've been off porn since November of last year or so, and like, I just feel so much better. Like, it's weird how much porn can affect your head. I didn't realize how bad it was until I posted a little bit ago about listening to Andrew Huberman talk about it. And it's just like, it makes sense. And like, much like McCusker, like I relate to him a lot. Like you just end up going way deep down into these holes. It's like, why am I fucking watching this? Like, what the fuck is
what
this?
he said on Rogan, dude? Because he's told me that before. I can't believe he said that already. He's probably said it on his podcast before too.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's not a good place to be for me anymore. And like, I don't want it anymore. And like, I want to be able to be, once I start dating more again, like I want to be my best sexual self. I don't want to be relying. And he said something that was really profound to me that I didn't really think about, but you're getting turned on by other people having sex, not yourself. Mm-hmm. Like you need yourself to feel good, not watch other people feel good and get their dopamine from them that they're getting. Like, it just made so much sense. But yeah, right now it's just the weed thing, and just trying to stay active and not let old habits come back into play in the wintertime and stuff. So yeah, weed is the big one right now for me that I'm fighting against.
Yeah, no, I have a funny feeling that a lot of guys have to deal with that. Especially because I feel like one of the major arguments, which by the way, I do agree with at a logical level, it's well, weed's not as bad as alcohol. And I that's my personal opinion as well. I don't smoke weed, I don't drink alcohol, but I could totally see that. But that's kind of flawed logic. If your goal is to play the game at the highest level, my personal opinion is you might want to consider removing chemicals and or whatever things to mess with your brain in order to achieve those results. At least give it a try and see how it goes for an extended period of time. Ray, what's your answer, brother?
And can you rephrase the question or just state the question again so I can answer it?
So what supernatural stimuli are you currently battling with?
So I think it's fear. It's like conflict avoidance, fear of having tough conversations, and it's getting out of control where it's like I'm afraid to fear becomes procrastination, right? Like in terms of calling, emailing, doing social media posts about my business. It really is fear. Like I'm able to talk myself into a state of paralysis with fear. And so I have to, it is at the level of a supernatural stimuli that I have to resist, just like junk food for some guys or porn or the attention of other women or drugs. Like it's at the level of a supernatural stimuli that I need to kind of like cut the wires.
Yeah. Dude, when you originally said that, I was like, okay, how can I connect the dots here? And I can totally see what you're saying. It is repeatedly, I see with myself and other human beings, especially in relationships, it feels good to feel bad. And when you feel bad, this is why people like listen to heartbreak songs after they just got their heart broken. Like it's pretty wild, right? They'll watch like
to scratch that itch.
Yeah, just to make them feel like super bad because feeling level 10 negative is better than feeling 0, sort of a thing. Like there's something in that with human psychology, so I could totally see that. And regarding paralysis, I had this discussion last night at a dinner party, which was awesome. Dima, thank you so much for coming, dude. It was like I haven't done a lot of friends things over the last handful of years, and having a dinner party last night was freaking amazing. So Dima, thank you for coming. But anyway, we talked about this idea that I got from the show Limitless, which was what I never understood out of the 3 primary responses, stress responses, so fight, flight, or freeze. I never understood freeze. I couldn't, it's like, okay, what's the biological sequence that happens? Like, why would you freeze? So obviously fight and flight makes sense, right? You have a stress, the saber-toothed tiger goes to eat you, you either fight it or you run, right? Blood goes to your muscles, your pupils dilate, like all these things, like you're hyper-focused, you're digestion is minimized, hence like the butterfly effect, because your body says, hey, you need to fight right now, not digest food, right? That's next in priority. So I never understood the freeze. Like why, when somebody gets on the national level, NBA championship game and they're about to shoot a free throw, can the arm feel like it's like frozen, sort of, you got to fight through it. So I finally learned the answer, which is if you believe that you are not going to beat the thing, then apparently the opposite happens. Blood retracts from your limbs because you've told yourself that you're going to lose, and you need to, when you get bit by the thing, you need to reduce the blood letting, right? You need to reduce the bleeding out. And that's fascinating to me because the fork in the road is the belief in yourself to overcome the thing. So when Ray, you say, hey, I've worked myself into paralysis via this like supernatural like stimuli of fear, right? Like I'm overly invested in this fear, or overly purchased into it. It almost feels like simultaneously you're digging the hole deeper, making yourself unable to believe that you can actually defeat the dragon. You can make the sales call. You can close the deal or whatever, to where your body is literally saying like, yeah, I'm not going to proceed because the CEO, the prefrontal cortex, and my past experience tells me I can't do it, which is really fascinating. So I appreciate your answer there.
Yeah, thank you for contextualizing it like that. It's helpful to know that is like overcoming that little roadblock in the process. That can be like the only thing in my way.
But the bitch of it, like the easy part is articulating the sequence once you've learned it. The bitch of it is how the fuck do you get rid of it? So what is your best guess as to an answer?
I think it's just exposure therapy. I think you just have to do it. You know, like you have to do it enough times until you've proven to yourself that it's an irrational fear.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That was going to be my exact answer. Repeated voluntary exposure. You know, and knowing that depending on the degree that you have dug the hole so far, right? Like knowing how much of a shit performer you will be on those first couple at bats, maybe even the first couple hundred at bats, to the point where like, dude, I've worked my way into such a paralysis before that I've had to lay down to send the email. Like I can't even hold my spine erect. You know, it's crazy how unbelievably powerful the human brain is. So it's like, even if you have to fucking lay down, right? Even if you can't even type it, if you have to tell Siri to send the email from your phone on your behalf, then fucking do it. And then maybe next time you can actually muster at least the thumb texting on your phone. And then maybe next time on the keyboard. So it's pretty wild how deep this rabbit hole can go.
Can I interject real quick with something? Yeah. So this kind of reminds me a little bit because fight, flight, or freeze. I went to a retreat earlier this year in like April, and there's a speaker there. Her name's Meredith. I forgot her last name. She's on Instagram, but she talks a lot about the window of tolerance. Have you heard that before or heard of it?
No, but
so
I'm interested.
It's kind of cool. So the window of tolerance is like, when you're in your window, imagine the window is right here, and then there's an above and a below. And so when you're in your window of tolerance, things are going just fine. They're flowing down the river. You're able to make good decisions, able to, you know, think clearly and everything. When you get out of your window, you're either in your hypo, which is below, which is basically the freeze thing, you know, lethargic, anxiety, freezing up, all that stuff. And then when you're hyper is when you get the fight or flight, like, you know, those really high anxiety feelings, fight mode, flight mode, whatever. And so you're not making good decisions in either of those outside the window. So it's always,
that's outstanding.
She focuses a bunch on like things to bring you back to your window of tolerance. And like, I have a bunch of notes. I'll throw it in the Discord sometime, but there's like, she talks about, you know, the 5 senses are the greatest way to get back into your window of tolerance. Like, you know, touching something soft that makes you feel good or whatever, like breathing. I mean, we all talk about breath, you know, just breathing through it and getting yourself back to that window of tolerance so you can make a good decision. And that's been something I've focused on a lot since like last April. It's just like, I can tell when I get, you know, anxious or, you know, get into that. Fear is a huge one for me too, Ray. That was awesome that you brought that up. I'm scared of failing at everything I keep doing. And so it's like, I freeze up a ton. And I'm like, okay, just think about more and like get back to your window so you can make, you know, good decisions for yourself. And that's been a big thing for me, like over the last year or so.
Yeah. And that reminds me.
Hold on.
Right, go ahead,
if you don't mind. You know, something that I've been trying to convince myself of lately is that I've had an art gallery for 2 years, right? And if my performance this past year was from year 20 of my gallery, then yeah, you could call it a failure or like you could call it a terrible year. But like at year 2, like I'm building something, right? So I'm building something from 0% successful to 100% successful. And that unfortunately, that 0 to 100 has not occurred in the first year or the second year. And I have to resist the urge to quit and abandon ship, right? And I'm sure there are moments and I don't know if you can relate to that, Jordan, but like, I'm sure on your weight loss and your journey to optimal health, there are moments where it's like, why aren't I the Hulk yet? It's because I'm a failure, right? Why haven't I lost 75 pounds this month? Like, I should quit, right? And so like, Wes, maybe you want to help me with the language or that thought process, making it a little tighter, but like, Wes, what do you think of that?
Yeah, well, I almost think this ties into the theme that we're talking about. Not only do we expose ourselves to supernatural stimuli, we expose ourselves to like the supernatural stories, success stories of others around us. Like, oh, why don't I have $1 billion company like Zuckerberg did? When he created Facebook, it seems like it was a month and he had like, whatever. And usually that's an exaggerated story in itself.
Comparison, yeah. Comparison is one of the one of the key kind of kryptonites there.
Yeah. So I think getting back to, all the stuff that we talk about. Number one, most of social media is just a highlight reel and just makes us jealous, makes us envious, makes all these things, right? Makes us feel poorly about ourselves. So I think that's the first thing. And then I think, Ray, again, it's not in my opinion, not a binary question. It's a question of relativity. So it's like, okay, if you don't do the art gallery, what's the alternative? Do you know what I mean? Like what? And it's kind of like relationships. It's like, okay, realize that there's no perfect female out there, right? And that your goal probably should be to get to 80%. And okay, and if you don't get to 80% of what you want, then you build the extra 20% delta. But if you keep on trading this 80%, then you're just trading it for a different 80%. There's always going to be a 10 to 20% or whatever that minority percentage is. That's never going to get there out of the gate. It's kind of like a baseball glove. Like you got to buy it, you got to you break it in, etc. But like you keep on buying new baseball gloves, you never get to the stage where you're breaking it in. And then to Jordan's point, this gets back to, I think, like what's called like the zone of proximal development. That window of tolerance. Well, the goal as a man should be to expand that window, right? So where you are competent on more of a domain, you're expanding your surface area of competence. And I personally believe the way to do that is to go out voluntarily and expose yourself to the next 10 to 20% of challenge, not 80% of challenge. If I was trying to get better at basketball, if I go and play LeBron James, that will basically give me zero benefit because as soon as I touch the ball, he's going to steal it from me. I get no advancement of skill. In fact, I would probably get more depressed about my skill and never want to play again. But if I go out and I play somebody who's 10 to 20% better than me, right, then it forces me just beyond my zone of competence. And then if I do that enough, because getting back to all of this stuff, situation, et cetera, right? Like I personally believe that confidence is a math game. Right? Like your confidence is based off of your historical performance in a given domain, in my personal opinion. And then it's about muscle memory. It's not about, oh, I'm pumping myself up and all of a sudden I can dunk a basketball. It's like, no, if you didn't do the fucking reps, if you didn't do the workouts for the last 3 years, you're not going to be able to dunk a basketball. No matter how much you pump yourself up, right, you're not going to be able to do it. It's more about the repetitions. So anyway, I hope, Ray, that kind of answers your question and ties in what Jordan was saying as well.
Hell yeah.
100% it does, dude. And it's funny how like the window of tolerance and the zone of proximal development and my comfort zone are all kind of the same concept, right? And it's like, and I think that like growing your comfort zone is not a comfortable process, right? You're required to step out of your comfort zone to know like how long you can go without porn or junk food, or how hard you can work out or how hard you can work. Like stepping out of your comfort zone is not comfortable. And I'm sure growing your window of tolerance or your zone of proximal development is not comfortable either.
Yep, exactly. And the bitch of it is that it's more of a volume game than it is a Hail Mary game. Like how many of us have, gotten a little bit too overweight. And then even though we know this intellectually, it's like, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow for 16 hours. And then you freaking work yourself, like you break your muscle tissue down to the point where you're pissing blood that night, right? Sort of a thing. And then you don't go to the gym for the next 3 weeks because you destroyed yourself. It's like more like, that's why I like that 10 to 20% rule. Get back into the game of what you can sustainably tolerate. And then you let the chips stack, and over time, you're unbeatable. right? Like, and all of us on this call, including the guys listening, like all of us know this 100%.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, dudes, I think that's good. Unless you guys have anything else to add. Anything else to add, dudes?
I pushed myself out of my comfort zone again this morning. Speaking of that, I got invited to go do a run. It was supposed to be on a lake, it's supposed to be completely frozen, but it's been like 40 around here. And so the top like foot of snow in many areas was just like watery slush. Fun fact, I hate cold feet and I hate wet feet. Those are my least favorite things. And I ran 5 miles. Like the minute I stepped on the lake, my foot just went through the snow and I was just wet immediately. And we ran 30 miles out or 30 minutes out and 30 minutes back. And I was it was like you're doing like the tire drill, like in football. You had to like high knee the entire way. And I fucking hated every second of it. But the dudes in front of me, it's like this team, Wes, you mentioned all of our teams that we have. I had these dudes in front of me that were just fucking crushing it. I'm like, I'm not going to slow down. Like, I'm going to stay with these guys. Their feet are wet too. Their feet are also fucking cold. This sucks, but I'm going to do it because they're doing it. Mm-hmm. And so like, I got back to short. I felt fucking great. Like my feet were cold, sure. But I went and took my shoes off. I knew I had dry shoes, dry socks waiting for me. So like I had that comfort area there, but like while I was doing it was one of the most uncomfortable things I've done.
Fuck yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest hacks you could have is being on a team. We've said it many times, whether this team or other teams, whatever, because there's an emotional hand up that you get from your team. Like when you want to quit, you don't want to show up, et cetera. I mean, it is an enormous hack. I mean, the big secret is like, it's not as hard, right? Like the same exact activities are not anywhere nearly as hard when you're on a team versus doing it yourself, period.
When you run with the pack.
Yep.
Right.
Love you guys. Have an outstanding week.
Hell yes.
And talk to you on Friday or see you on the scorecard meeting tomorrow. Later, dudes.
Hell yes.
Guys, take care.